Hello friends, welcome back to a new video. My name is Allison and today I'm doing a video that I have been looking forward to doing for a long time. Well, not like a super long time, like a few weeks. And I'm just going to be talking about some books that are coming out in this next half of 2021 that I am excited for. So basically, like, I obviously don't have any physical copies of these books because they are not released yet, and I am not I don't have any like advanced readers copies or anything, so I'm going to have to put pictures of them up on the screen while I'm editing, but I will also be showing you previous books by these same authors if I have any. If not, I won't, but just to give you guys kind of like a reference point for if you may have seen a book before but never heard or don't remember the author's name, that kind of thing. So basically what I'm going to do is go through a list of books by month, and then I will show you, like, I'll tell you the name of the book and the day it's coming out and what it looks like, and I'll read a little bit of a synopsis for it, and then I will show you other books by the same author if I have any. Some of them I don't, but most of them I do have books for them, like books by the same author. So just for a point of reference. So anyway, let's just go ahead and get started. I'm really excited about this video. So the first books we have on the list are for the month of July. I know July is, you know, almost over, but there are a couple that came out or are still coming out this month that I am really interested in, and one of them is Gods and Monsters by Shelby Maherin. It is the third book in the Serpent and Dove trilogy by her. I'm just going to read like a tiny, this isn't even part of the synopsis, this is kind of like a blurb about the book. And all of this stuff is from, all this information is from Goodreads. It says, the spellbinding conclusion to the New York Times and indie-bound best-selling trilogy Serpent and Dove. This stunning fantasy take on French witches and forbidden love is perfect for fans of Sarah J. Maas. Evil always seeks a foothold. We must not give it one. So that is, like, I don't want to read more of the synopsis because it is the third book in a series, and I don't want to spoil it because synopses for following books can usually spoil the first book. So I'm going to leave it at that, and it is the third book in this trilogy. This is Serpent and Dove, which is the first book, and it is releasing July 27th. The next book that I have on this list, I do not have a previous work by the author because I've never heard of the author before now, and the book is already out. It was released on July 1st, and it is called Song of the Forever Rains. And here's a little bit of the synopsis. It says, from the award-winning author of the Dreamland series comes a new dark, romantic fantasy about a young woman finding hope in her powers of destruction. It says, the Thief Kingdom is a place hidden within the world of Adelior. Many whisper of its existence, but few have found this place where magic and pleasure abound. And we're going to leave it at that. So the reason I have this on this list is because I really like the cover. I think it's really pretty, and I've been super in the mood to read fantasy romances lately, and I have not gotten a copy of this book yet. I wish I had one for this video because then I could just show you what it looks like, you know, physically. But as far as I'm aware, it is available on Amazon as a paperback. It might be hardcover, but usually I'm pretty sure it's like an indie published book, so it's probably only available in paperback, but sometimes they are available on hardcover. And that Goodreads says it is several people say it's young adult and some people say it's adult, so it is a fantasy romance, and it's either adult or YA depending on what you think that entails. So that is it for July. Next we have books for August, and the first one, a book that's not new. It is a reprint of this book. This is Sabriel by Garth Nix, and this year marks the 25th anniversary of this book coming out, which makes me feel really old because the Sabriel, the Old Kingdom series by Garth Nix, I've been literally reading since I was a young child. So, well, not super young, like probably middle school, I would say I have been reading Sabriel and the Horson series. So it's not a new book. It's been around for quite a long time, and I will pop up the picture of the special edition that they're coming out with. But I'm going to read a little bit of the synopsis. It says, sent to a boarding school in Excelsior as a young child, Sabriel has had little experience with the random power of free magic or the dead who refuse to stay dead in the Old Kingdom. But during her final semester, her father, the Aporson, goes missing, and Sabriel knows she must enter the Old Kingdom to find him. And then it just goes on to talk about the book. So, this series is very nostalgic and near and dear to my heart. I have absolutely loved it. And there's actually another book coming out, like I'll talk about it in a little bit, in I think September, that has to do with this series as well. So I'm excited about that. Very excited to be getting a special edition of this book because I really like the original covers, and a while ago they like recovered them like this as paperbacks, and it's almost impossible to get original hardcovers because the series is so old. Like, it's literally impossible unless you wanted to go like thrift book, like treasure hunting, like thrift store treasure hunting for like used books. You might be able to find it, but good luck finding it online because everyone wants to charge an arm and a leg for it. Okay, and the other book we have for August is a book called A Dance with the Fae Prince, and it is by Elise Kova, and it is releasing on August 19th. And it is the second book in her Married to Magic series, which are all books that are set in the same world but not about the same people. So here's a little bit of the description from Goodreads for this one. It says, Cinderella meets the cruel prince in this standalone fantasy romance about a human girl and her marriage to the prince of the Fae. She knew her hand in marriage would be sold. She had no idea a Fae prince was the buyer. And I actually have the first book, so this is the first book in that series. It is called A Deal with the Elf King, and I really liked this book. It's very short, it was entertaining and fun to read. If you're looking for quick, entertaining reads with a little romantic twist to them, these have been, I mean, I've only read this one, but I really liked it. Like, there's not a lot of depth to it, so you don't have to spend a ton of time focusing on it, and if you just need to escape for like a few hours, this book is perfect for that. So I highly recommend A Deal with the Elf King, and I'm really excited to read A Dance with the Fae Prince as well. Next we are on to September's books, and I have 3 books for September, starting with Empire of the Vampire by none other than Jay Kristoff. And let's see, a synopsis for this. I'm only going to read a little bit. Empire of the Vampire is an adult fantasy novel, not YA, so please do not confuse those. I know a lot of people confuse his Nevernight series as YA, and it's not. I've read the entire thing, and there's not a bit of that book that is YA. It is 100% adult reading material. But here's a little bit of the description for Empire of the Vampire. From Holy Cup comes holy light, the faithful hands sets world aright. And in the 7 martyrs' sight, mere man shall end this endless night. And then it says, it has been 27 long years since the last sunrise. For nearly 3 decades, vampires have waged war against humanity, building their eternal empire even as they tear down our own. And that's all I'm going to read about that. That's actually the most that I've ever learned about this book because I am not a synopsis reader, so this is actually really hard for me because I don't like reading synopses because often the author is not writing them. So just some copy editor is writing it, and sometimes they're a little bit spoilery. Not always, but sometimes they can be, and I just like to go into a book blind. Like, that's just my favorite thing. So this book, Empire of the Vampire, is by none other than Jay Kristoff, author of the Nevernight series and co-author of the Aurora cycle and also the Illuminae files. He co-wrote those with Amy Kaufman, and I am not going to say that Nevernight was a good series or a favorite series or anything like that. I liked the second book in that series, but the last book I didn't like at all. But so I'm a little bit like leery of you know, Empire of the Vampire because I know what kind of like adult writing he writes. So it's gonna be interesting, and I'm probably going to only be reading it at during the day because it kind of sounds like it might be a little bit scary, but that's okay. Once Upon a Broken Heart, which is by Stephanie Garber, who is the author of Caraval, the Caraval series. This is a new series by her, but I'm pretty sure it's set in the same world as Caraval was. So I'm going to read a little bit of the description for that one. It says, when Evangeline Fox learns that the love of her life is about to marry another, she feels her heart begin to break in two. Desperate and distraught, she offers the charismatic but wicked Prince of Hearts whatever he wishes in exchange for his help to stop the wedding. So that's really interesting. Again, I had not read that yet. And it is set in the same world as Caraval, and before I forget to mention it, it is YA fantasy. This is Caraval. This is the first book in the Caraval trilogy, and I have read this trilogy and I really enjoyed it. I think it was a very unique story. I can't say that I was a fan of either of the two main characters, but I did really like the story quite well. It was entertaining and fun to read, and I really liked it. It was really good. So I am excited for Once Upon a Broken Heart. I hope it might have a little bit more of, like, be more on the more mature end of the YA spectrum, just so that I can enjoy it a little bit more than I did Caraval. But if not, I still think I'll enjoy it. I think Stephanie Garber is a great author, and I really enjoyed her books so far. Moving on to the last book in to be released in September, not like literally the last book, like the last book that I'm interested in reading, and it is Cloud Cuckoo Land, and it is by the author Anthony Doerr. He is a writer of mostly historical fiction. I've only read one other book by him, and I really liked it, and it was historical fiction. I'm not saying he doesn't write other things other than historical fiction, but so far that's been my experience with his writing. And this one is being labeled as historical science fiction, so that's kind of interesting. I will go ahead and read a little bit of the book description off of Goodreads. It says, from Pulitzer Prize-winning author of All the Light We Cannot See, perhaps the most best-selling and beloved literary fiction of our time, comes a triumph of imagination and compassion. A soaring novel about children on the cusp of adulthood in a broken world who find resilience, hope, and story. The heroes of Cloud Cuckoo Land are trying to figure out the world around them. And I'm going to stop right there because I feel like it's going to get too descriptive. So, I'm really excited to read this book. Like the description said, he's the author of All the Light We Cannot See, which is one of the most beautiful historical fiction novels I have ever read in my entire life. It was seriously so good. I loved it so much. And it's been a long time since he has released a book, so I'm very, very excited for Cloud Cuckoo Land. I like the science fiction twist. I'm curious to see what it's about. I know it's going to be just as beautiful as All the Light We Cannot See. Like, guys, his writing is beautiful. That's all I can say about it. He just has beautiful writing. Every word has weight and gravity to it. There's not a wasted word. Is it a little bit long-winded? It can be. But if you really just enjoy the writing, it's so good. I really, really like it. So, Cloud Cuckoo Land is getting released on September 28th. And that's the last book that I have for September. And so we're going to move right on to October. In October, I have 3 books that I am looking forward to. The first one being Vesper Teen, I'm pretty sure that's how you say that, by Margaret Rogerson. It is YA fantasy. It's coming out October 5th, and I'm going to read a little bit of the description. It says, from New York Times bestselling author of Sorcery of Thorns and An Enchantment of Ravens comes a thrilling new YA fantasy about a teen girl with mythic abilities who must defend her world against restless spirits of the dead. Ooh. Okay, that sounds really interesting. So, this book is, of course, it caught my attention, you know, because of the cover, but I have also read her previous 2 novels, and I have A Sorcery of Thorns here by Margaret Rogerson, and this book was really good. And this was a standalone, and this one looks like, Vespertine looks like it is maybe a series. I don't know. Goodreads says Vespertine #1. So it might be a series, or it might be another standalone, because her other novel, An Enchantment with Ravens and Sorcery of Thorns, were both standalones. So Vespertine might be standalone, but it also might be a start of a series. Either way, I'm going to read it and hopefully enjoy it. It sounds interesting. I like books that deal with, like, I don't like believe in ghosts or anything, or like the dead, you know, not, you know, coming back to haunt people. I don't believe in that, but I think it's interesting to read about, and I think it makes really good story material. So I am excited for that as well. Next on the list, we have a book called The Gilded Cage by Lynette and Noni, and it is actually the sequel to The Prison Healer, which I just read this week, or the week that I'm filming this, I read it, and I'm very excited for it. It is releasing on October 12th, and it is a YA fantasy, and I'm gonna go ahead and read a little bit of the description, not a whole bunch. It says, Kiva trades one cage for another when she leaves behind a deadly prison for a deceptive palace in this dark and dangerous sequel to The Prison Healer, which Sarah J. Maas called a must-read. Kiva Meridian is a survivor. And that's all I'm going to read because it gets a little bit spoilery. So this is The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. This is the first book in the Prison Healer series, and The Gilded Cage is the second novel, which is very exciting. I really need to get it and read it and figure out what the heck is happening. So I'm really excited about that one as well. Obviously, I wouldn't have it on here if I wasn't excited about it. And then the last book I have for October is called Midnight in Everwood, and I don't have a copy of a book by this author. This author is new to me. I don't know if this is if this is a debut novel or not, but this author is new to me. I just saw the book and fell in love with it. I think the cover is gorgeous, and it is fantasy, and it's a retelling, and I'm pretty sure it's holiday, like a holiday type feel to the story. So I'm gonna go ahead and read a little bit of the description. It says, a spellbinding retelling of the Nutcracker filled with enchanted toys, decadent balls, fierce feminine friendships, and a forbidden romance. For fans of The Toymakers, Caraval, and The Bear and the Nightingale. So, based off of that, it's definitely like holiday themed because it's a Nutcracker retelling, and I literally love the story of the Nutcracker. I have always been obsessed with it, and one day hope to maybe see a ballet of it because I think it would be freaking amazing to go see. I did forget to say the author's name is M.A. Kuzniar, and I do have this book pre-ordered, and I pre-ordered the Waterstones edition because it's freaking beautiful and it has sprayed edges, and I can't say no to sprayed edges, so I'm really excited for this one, and it's coming out in October. So I pre-ordered it, so I'm gonna get it, you know, probably in November, but I'm gonna hold off and wait to read it in December, maybe even in the new year, just because it is winter themed, and I think it's appropriate to read books when there's like maybe possibly snow outside. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. Next, we are into November, and I have 4 books listed for November that are coming out. I'm very excited. So the first one that we have in September is called, see if I can butcher this name or not. It's called Terciel and Elinor, and that is by Garth Nix, and it is a prequel to Sabriel. So the book I showed you earlier that I was talking about, that's the 25th anniversary for that book. So this is a new book in that series, and it's a prequel to Sabriel. So that one comes out November 2nd, and I will read a little bit of the description for you guys. It says, best-selling novelist Garth Nix returns to the Old Kingdom for the never-before-told love story of Sabriel's parents, Terciel and Elinor, and the charter magic that brought them together and threatened to tear them apart. A long-awaited prequel to a classic fantasy series. And then it goes on to say, in the Old Kingdom, a land of ancient and often terrible magics, 18-year-old orphan Terciel learns the art of necromancy from his great-aunt Tizeniel. These names, the names in this world, there's a lot of vowels, and I don't know how to speak when there's a lot of vowels in words, so I kind of butchered that, but that's okay. I'm very excited to read this book. I cannot wait. Yeah, I've always wanted to know what happened to Sabriel's parents. Like, I know what happened to her father because that's talked about in Sabriel, but I like need to know what happened before all of that. So, very excited for that book, and this is, I'm pretty sure, yeah, YA fantasy, because the rest of the series is YA fantasy, so it doesn't make sense that you would, you know, change it to adult or anything. Next on the list, we have Aurora's End, which is the final book in the Aurora cycle by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, and I have read all of the first 2 books and absolutely love them. So Aurora's End, First, just take a moment to appreciate the cover of Aurora's End because it's got one of the coolest characters in the whole series on it. And Charlie Bowater's the artist, and she did an amazing job with all of them. So this book is releasing November 9th, and I'm very excited for it. And I'm going to read a tiny bit of the description because obviously I don't want to spoil anything for the first 2 books. It says, "The squad you love is out of time. Prepare for the thrilling finale in the epic, best-selling Aurora cycle series about a band of unlikely heroes who just might be the galaxy's last hope for survival. Is this the end? What happens when you ask a bunch of losers, discipline cases, and misfits to save the galaxy from an ancient evil?" And that's all I'm going to read because I don't want to spoil anything. So I'm really excited for that one, and I just want to show you guys the first book. So the first book in that series is called Aurora Rising, and look at this gorgeous cover. I mean, hello. The second book is called Aurora Burning, and then we have Aurora's End coming out. I'm so excited. I mean, I'm terrified and scared, and I feel like bad things are going to happen, but I am also excited because I need to know what bad things are going to happen to my baby characters. So I'm really excited about that. Next on my November list, we have a book called Unraveling 11, and this is a sequel. It's a sequel to a book that I read earlier this year. No, at the very end of last year. It is by Jerry Chisholm, and it is YA sci-fi, I'm very certain. I will just read a little bit of the description because I don't want to spoil anything. Okay, this says, "If Eve Hamilton cannot contain the monster inside, she'll lose everyone who is important to her in this thrilling follow-up to the 2020 dystopian Escaping 11. And that's all I'm going to read because literally the next sentence ruins everything. So, it is a sequel to this book, Escaping 11 by Jerry Chisholm. And I was lucky enough to be given this book for, I think it was in exchange for a review back when I was really on Bookstagram quite often. And I really liked this book. This is a very solid dystopian YA book. I feel like a lot of people are pretty over the whole dystopian thing, but I'm for sure not over it. I have loved the dystopian setting ever since Scott Westerfeld came out with Uglies, and this book was just as good, just as interesting. It had a little bit of a forbidden romance thing going on, and I just really, really enjoyed it. I read it really fast, so I'm very excited to see what happens in the next book, and also the cover of Unraveling 11 is very beautiful. I'm excited to have that on my shelves. That is super colorful. The final book for November is a book called Cytonic by none other than Brandon Sanderson, and it is the 3rd novel in the Skyward series. So let's go ahead and read some of the description here. It says, "From the #1 New York Times bestselling author of the Reckoners series, the Mistborn trilogy, and the Stormlight Archive comes the 3rd book in an epic series about a girl who will travel beyond the stars to save the world she loves from destruction." There's really not a lot I can say about this book other than I'm really, really excited to read it. Let's see, this one is getting, oh yeah, I already said this one's getting released on the 25th, and it is YA science fiction. And this is the first book. This is Skyward, and this is the UK hardcover. If you want a copy of the UK hardcover, you best be buying it because it's about to be running out of stock in hardcover and will only be available in paperback. So, this is Skyward. This is the first novel in this series, and then the one that came after this was called Starsight. So you have Skyward, Starsight, and then Cytonic is the 3rd novel, and there are more books planned. I'm very excited. I cannot wait for Cytonic to come out because the end of Starsight was crazy as heck. Let's just say that. Okay, on to December. I only have one book for December, and that's just because it's pretty far away and you never know when books are gonna actually get released. So the final book I have for this video is called A History of Wild Places, and it is by Shay Earnshaw. It is an adult mystery thriller type of book, and let's see. I'm just going to read a little bit of the description. It says, the New York Times bestselling author of The Wicked Deep weaves a richly atmospheric adult debut following 3 residents of a secluded, seemingly peaceful commune as they investigate the disappearances of 2 outsiders. So it's a thriller. It's a little bit of a mystery. It's probably a book that I'm going to have to not read at night because I don't like scary books, but I have read her other 2 novels. One of them was Winterwood, and then her first novel was called The Wicked Deep. These were both standalone YA fantasy books. This one was kind of like a paranormal type one, and then I guess the other one was paranormal too. So The Wicked Deep was probably, I would consider, like paranormal historical fiction, and this one I would consider a paranormal fantasy. A paranormal contemporary. There was a little bit of a fantasy element to it because there was some magic involved, but other than that, it's more paranormal than I would say fantasy. So, but those were both YA standalones, and they're not very big. I have The Wicked Deep on my shelves. I just didn't grab it because I didn't feel like I needed to show both of them up here. But A History of Wild Places is a debut. It is a thriller, a debut adult book, I should say, and it is a thriller. So I'm looking forward to it, but also dreading it because I don't like scary books. But I really loved her other books, and I really want to love this one too. I'm gonna read that one, but like only during the day because I can't read scary books at night. So that one is getting released December 7th. That is my list of books that I am looking forward to over the next 6 months. Obviously, there are hundreds and hundreds of books getting published in the next 6 months. These are just the few that I am the most interested in reading. Some of them I have pre-ordered, some of them are not available for pre-order yet, or they are and I'm just waiting for maybe a special edition to come up for pre-order. But either way, I'm immensely looking forward to reading all of these books. I'm excited to be finishing some series and continuing some series and starting some new series. I'm just generally excited for all of the new books that are coming out. I can't wait to like dive in and, you know, read all of them. I love to punish myself by reading books as they release instead of, like, I know some people prefer to wait until a series is completely released before they read all of the books. I'm not like that. I want to buy new books and read them all at one time because I just like to punish myself. So anyways, if you guys are planning to add any of these books to your TBR, I would love to know. I just love talking about books. So any questions you have, any comments you have, as long as they're kind and nice, please leave them down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing week, and I will see you in another video. Bye!